game is just played. Come after me. I'm a man. I'm for you. Can't wait. Let's go.
I stay getting hyped during that intro. Like, I love that intro. That is the best thing. Like, I love that intro. All right, welcome back to another episode of the Cheap Seats. Listen, we have like a revolving door of like 6 people that be on the cheap seats. Some weeks we got 4, some weeks 3, some 2. But this week we got full panel, all four of us tonight. Missing Chase, my man Chase, but Godfrey's always here to stand in. To the direct left of me, or right, depending on how you're looking at your screen, the Prince of Production for Sports Empire Network, the King, Kyle Edwards. How you feeling?
I'm good. I mean, look, but what better way to start off the work week than another episode of Cheap Seats? So I'm ready to go.
I just want to make sure y'all ready for some stories, because Jory's sports stories. And by the way, I don't know if y'all noticed, but she get a little old. We got an older woman on camera tonight. She's a little older. We don't talk about age much, but hey, listen, she celebrated a birthday last week. Happy birthday officially. What's happening, Jory? How you feeling?
Thank you. I'm all right. Just working.
She's still celebrating. That's what she's doing.
That too.
And then in the direct caddy corner, directly, my brother from another, taking it deep, THEE, GODFREY, the Godfrey.
What's up? I'm just hyped to have a new office chair.
Bro, it didn't sound hype. That was like the least like hype. What's up?
Well,
Damn, I give you a whole THEE, like the road dog. And I'm getting in there and what's up?
It's simple, it's simple things. I got the chair is back, I was sitting on an igloo cooler for like a week. That sucked. So
you were sitting on a cooler?
Yep. Until I got one in.
Damn.
So
all right, we got a lot to get into. We got at least 4 questions tonight, maybe 5. So I'd hate to waste anyone's time in the chat. Hate to waste anyone's time on the panel. We got 90 minutes of commercial free. It's always commercial free. I'm just having a good time right now. Yeah. Let's get rolling. Kyle, what direction are we headed? The maestro is going to head us in the direction, and I'm going to pass the rock. I can do it around the screen. Right over.
Well, I mean, I feel like the best one to get started with, we'll start with Jory's, because I think it's a good show opener.
Okay. We play to win the game. I'm ready.
All right. So, because I was looking at the bottom 6 teams, like the bottom 3 of each conference. And so we're talking about the Spurs, the Grizzlies, the Trailblazers, the Hornets, Pistons, Wizards. Out of those 6, where would you rank? Well, it's kind of an awkward question. Who is the least likely who is just closer to just blowing it up all over again? And who is more likely to kind of turn it around in a season or 2?
Like, what you're saying is, who's the closest to being competitive?
Being something, yes.
And who's the furthest from being competitive?
And who's the closest to nothing, yes.
Hey, I get it. What's the order? What direction you want to head?
Kyle, I'll let you go first, and then Gene, and then Godfrey, and then I'll go last.
All right. Sounds good. I'm ready to rock and roll.
All right. I mean, look, I had to do some digging on this one. I feel like the obvious answer would be the Grizzlies. I mean, out of those teams, they do have the best player in terms of Ja Morant. But, yeah, I think I'll stick with the Grizzlies, because I did look at, like, the Spurs, I feel like have an interesting future with Wemby, but some of the other pieces around him are a little questionable.
The other 12 people.
Sohan is kind of a misshapen piece that they're trying to figure out his role. I like Keldon Johnson. I like Devin Vassell, but outside of that, not really much else. Although you have the pop factor and his ability to create, and the success of the organization, of course. But the Grizzlies, you're looking at their future. They have Ja Morant under contract. You have Jaren Jackson, depending on how you feel about him. I'm not the biggest Jaren Jackson fan, but he's at least under contract for another couple of years. You got Marcus Smart, Brandon Clark, if he can ever stay healthy. Desmond Bain, like Vincent Williams and guys like that. I feel like the biggest thing that's holding back the Grizzlies has been health. When they've all been healthy, they were pretty good. When they have Morant or one of the bigger names out of the lineup, they struggle. So I feel like it has to be the Grizzlies for this one.
And
Okay.
what's the bleakest?
Oh, sorry, the bleakest. I probably the Hornets, to be honest with you. I mean, looking at their roster, they basically have Grant Williams, LaMelo Ball, and Brandon Miller under contract, and that's supposed to be, I guess, their core. If that's your core, you have some issues. And I think for them, the biggest thing that they're going to have is talent, number one, because they've had past few seasons a lot of guys who do the same thing, which is redundant. They've moved on from some of them, but now they have to replenish that talent with, correct draft picks, trying to get free agents into Charlotte, which is going to be tough. Organizational direction has been all over the place. Jordan kind of stepping down, maybe that helps that. But I think they also lost Mitch Kupchak. So we'll have to see what their front office looks like going forward, and will the philosophy change there? And probably the biggest need is a true number one. I'm not a believer in LaMelo Ball being your best player and being a winning team. So they need to get somebody in there who will push LaMelo Ball to a number two, and Brandon Miller could hopefully be like a really good number three or like a 2B or something like that. But I don't know how quickly the Hornets can make all that happen. So I think they have the bleakest future of those teams.
So I'm so glad that I really wanted to go first on this one, because I felt like both answers were obvious and there's a correct answer to both these questions. And Kyle didn't take the correct answer on either one. So I want to let everybody know he is incorrect. Okay. Listen, it's just an opinion, obviously. I'm fooling around, but you're incorrect, right? Morant is incredible and Memphis is there, but that's not the correct answer. The correct answer is, in order to win in the NBA, you need a superstar player. Ja's a superstar. He is. But I don't think that team, and I don't think that where they're at is any close to winning an NBA championship. I don't think they have a shot. So what do I have to do? I have to look at the bones. I have to look at, out of those 6 teams, what team has the most likely player to be LeBron, to be Steph Curry, to be Nikola Jokic, Kevin Durant? Who has that player on their team? And it's San Antonio. Victor Wembanyama is a piece that you can build around. And guys, I'm not being smart. We all looked at before he went to the NBA and they're like, if he's not a top 10 player of all time, his career is a failure. That's what people were saying. If he's not a top 10 player of all time, and guess what? He's lived up to the hype so far this year. He's averaging close to 3 blocks per game. He's going to be one of the best defensive players ever to play the game of basketball, at worst. The answer is San Antonio, and San Antonio is by far the closest team. Now let's talk about the furthest team. We could look at Charlotte, and I don't think Charlotte's far off from the bottom, right? I don't know if somebody's got a phone that's being like, I'm getting a lot of feedback, volume down, I don't know. But I don't know if Charlotte is the answer, but I will tell you the team that is furthest off by far, and it's the Washington Wizards. They're an absolute joke. You got the pool party coming off the bench. You got Kuzma thinking he's Kevin Durant. I'm better than LeBron. I could do A, B, and C. The Wizards are a mess. I want you to tell me this, right? We look at Charlotte. You look at LaMelo Ball, Brandon Miller. You look at guys on that team that you could build around. Who can you build around on the Wizards? Who on the Wizards? Who?
Denny.
You're not building around Denny Avila.
I'm kidding.
But, like, that's my point. Like, who on that team can you build around? Now, you know the Wizards' only chance of getting out of this hell that they're in? Get rid of everybody, get the first overall pick, luckily, and then they can have an opportunity to build themselves out of the trash that they are now. The Wizards are awful. They're terrible. And I think that they're furthest from competing because the organization is a mess. Washington as a whole, every sport franchise that isn't named the Capitals is a mess. You see the NFL report that came out, the Washington Commanders finished 32nd again. They got an F- for treatment of family. F-? What are they doing to the families? They got an F- for travel. What are they putting these guys on Spirit? I don't get it. The whole Washington franchise as a whole is just in the toilet. And if you walk around DC, it looks like a goddamn toilet. So I'm going Washington, and not even close. And the Pistons have a way better roster than the Wizards. The Pistons, I almost blame Stephen Chambers asked questions. What a better roster, the Wizards or the Pistons? I almost blame Monty for the Pistons' non-success. I can see cornerstone players on the Wizards. You got Amen Thompson, Cade Cunningham. You got, I think, Jay Ivey. There's a lot of guys on that Pistons team that are talented. They're just not playing together.
You got Duran and Sasser.
Duran. I think the furthest by far is the Wizards. I think they're in a whole nother category.
I can agree with that. I will say it was between the Hornets and the Wizards for me. So I wasn't that far off with the Wizards talk.
Well,
my only thing is I feel like with the Wizards, if you got like a strong coach there, that would probably fix a lot. Because the problem is Jordan Poole feels like because he won the ring in Golden State, he has free reign to do whatever he wants. And they need somebody to tell him like, bruh, you were just a bit piece on that team. You weren't Steph Curry. So you need to calm down with acting like you're bigger than everybody else on the team.
You know why Draymond punched him. So then we see now why.
I think the best player on the Wizards is Tyus Jones.
Exactly.
Yeah, well, they're not going to keep him as a building block.
No, I know. I'm just saying I think he's the best player on the team. Best player on the whole roster, Tyus Jones. That's crazy to me. I remember when they drafted Corey Kispert, and I told everybody, like, if I watched college basketball, I'm like, he's terrible. Like, he's terrible. And what has Corey Kispert been in his first 3 years in the NBA? Terrible.
Who?
Exactly. Talking about the 3-point specialist from Gonzaga that played on that Gonzaga team with Drew Timme and Chet. This dude was the 3-point specialist. Did not work out for him. Godfrey, what you got?
So it's interesting because our opinions kind of butt heads. I think, I do agree with you. I think the Pistons are the brightest, cellar dwelling team with the brightest future because they got Mbawamba. I'm saying his name wrong right there. My apologies. But I think the Pistons are the worst. And it's funny because it seems like they had a 14% chance, just like the Spurs, to get that guy, and they didn't. And it's almost like,
are you talking about the Spurs? The Spurs have Wembanyama.
Yeah. But the Pistons had a lottery pick, and they got 5 that year.
Oh, okay.
They had a 14% chance, just like them in Houston. They didn't get them. Now they can't control that. However, like you said, there's talent on that team, and it hasn't been solved. And, when I hear Detroit Pistons fans talk about it, when I hear NBA people talk about it, it seems like the great mystery of the Bermuda Triangle of talent. Like, we don't understand how this can happen. I mean, there's reasons you can break down coaching, management, things of that nature. But I don't, where are they going forward? Like, you have Cade Cunningham. I know who he is. He's a talented young player. But it almost seems like they're stuck in cement. I don't know what they're going to do. Hopefully they get a high pick and they add another player. I mean, they added a number 5 pick, right, last year. And they're awful. When I see them play, they look so bad. They're so boring. I don't know. Like, they can't even score some nights. Like I watched them play the Sixers, and I was like, should I take the under or the over? I took the under because I think they barely got to 100, and that's hard in today's NBA. I mean,
Do you really think the Pistons have the bleakest future?
yeah. I mean, you
I
can have
think they have a lot of pieces. I'm not trying to listen. It's the
they got to put it together though. The organization has just been awful.
I get it, but like, would you rather have the pieces and not be able to put it together, or not have the pieces at all? Washington doesn't have a piece. Like I would rather have, like, listen, if I'm trying to cook a dinner, I have like a pot roast and some spaghetti. The shit don't go together. I understand that, but I got food. The Wizards got some peanuts and some shells. Like, they have nothing. They have nothing.
Yeah, I look at the Pistons like they got good soil, but the farmers suck, and the coaching and management. And so I don't. But the thing is what are they doing to rectify that? It just seems like this is a repeat. You know what I mean? It shouldn't. When you have a young team, I don't think it should take multiple years to turn it over. You know what I mean? Unless you're not stuck under contracts. Like, what are they doing there? It just the coaching seems bad. The management is definitely bad. I mean, besides drafting young players, I mean that you can ruin young talent if you don't put them in the right position.
Yo, it's crazy because you look at that Pistons team. You got a number 1 overall pick in Cade Cunningham, a number 4 overall pick in Jaden Ivey. You got Marvin Bagley, who was a number 2 overall pick. Sword Thompson was a 5th overall pick. They're loaded with like top talent. Killian Hayes was 6th overall. Kevin Knox was 9th overall.
Don't mention Mr. Hayes.
Terrible picks.
I get it. I'm just saying you have. Yeah. I think the Pistons might have more top 10 talent, like top 10 drafted picks on their team than any team in basketball.
Yeah. I think they were really banking on getting Mbawamba. Tell me how to say his name right. I feel
Wembanyama.
Wembanyama. I'm calling him Webby.
I mean, you could just do Wemby.
Wemby is what a lot of people call him. Wemby, like
yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Wemby.
Well, they were hoping to get Wemby, and it seemed like they were grasping for straws once they didn't get Wemby. Like a lot of teams were, but like when I read up on them, I read on Axios Detroit, and it just seems like they were lost. They're like, oh, we still could get a good player, and the kid does look like a generational talent. So it's almost like when you miss out, you're like, well, what do we do next? You know what I mean? And that's seems like their approach.
Stable organizations usually have a plan B.
Right. I don't think they're stable. I mean,
I think a lot of teams on the bottom of this thing aren't stable.
Mm-mm.
But I think that Washington is the least stable. Like Washington is on some stilts, on some ice. Like they're walking on some stilts, on some ice. Like it just don't make no sense. Joy, what you think?
As somebody who has tortured themselves by watching all 6 of these teams in highlights for the past maybe 4 to 5 days to get notes for another video I'm planning on doing, I'm going to go with Gene as the bleakest is Washington. Because when I look at them play, minus Denny, who's a good number 2, and minus Tyus, and that light-skinned thing who like to dress like a bubble, Kuzma, he has his nights. But the pool is shallow. It's more like a puddle, dried up. I'm tired of him already. And as a collective, their basketball IQ is a -3. Like, just horrible. And you think about the talent on that team, the way if they wanted to try to win or something, you would need a new head coach. You would probably need somebody else picking the ingredients, because taking the other team's trash and trying to make soup with it is not going well in your favor at all. So, and then you have teams like Charlotte. Now, Charlotte has talent. My thing is with them, they look a hot mess. They don't try on defense, minus Bridges. They're not very physical, and they don't need to be trying to build a roster around LaMelo Ball, who all he does is catch and shoot, do nothing, and be hurt. If they were smart, and I don't even like Miles Bridges, but if they wanted to build around 1 or 2, it's Miles Bridges or Brandon Miller, and then they need to figure out the rest of it. Because again, the Charlotte Hornets are also a Build-A-Bear NBA franchise, taking people's trash. But they have front office issues. And then the Spurs with Wemby. And when I watched the Spurs, it's Wemby, Vassell, the other dude, I can't think of him, and whatever, and whoever, the Muppets. And then you got Sochan on that team, who, if you play him at point, it's not going to work. If you put him at forward, he's not going to work. He's obviously not big enough to be a big. It's not going to work. He needs to be relegated to the bench with him and his little crazy haircuts and hair colors just being a distraction. Maybe that's what he's good for. But I feel like the Spurs might take a few years. It might be like 2 to 3 year building process around Wemby. But
They got a guy. They got a guy on their bench from Ohio State. I like. He doesn't get a lot of action right now, but he's young. He's very raw. Malachi Branham. I really like him, and I think that he has the ability to be an elite player in the NBA. He was drafted super young. Like he had that tournament for Ohio State the year they had. I forget the guy's name. It was their best player, but Malachi Branham was their clutchest player, and they made that run in the tournament. And Branham was solid. And I think he's been developing on that Spurs bench for a little bit. And I think that what the Spurs really need is a true point guard to really run their offense.
Yep. Because Sochan looking goofy at the point guard position is not going to work. And as far as Memphis is concerned, I think they're too immature to really go anywhere. They have a coach that would rather condone their foolishness instead of coach it out of them. And that youth and immaturity has pretty much ruined that team. That's where I am with Memphis.
Can I quickly address Dustin's comment?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dustin said wrong. The Bulls are the least stable team. No first round picks for the next 3 years. An aging roster, no direction. The Bulls are F. Why I agree with you, Dustin, the Bulls still have 3 tradable assets that can acquire them high first round draft picks and multiple versions of them. Listen, whether you like or dislike Zach LaVine, he has value. Whether you dislike DeMar DeRozan, he has value. Whether you dislike Alex Caruso, he has value.
I'll take him back.
So I think that the Bulls might not have the best direction. What they're doing, they have assets that are valuable. Whereas the Wizards don't have, who would you give a top 10 pick for on the Wizards?
Absolutely nothing.
And that's my point. Nobody.
And they're stuck with Jordan Poole because who's going to take that contract off of him?
Nobody. That's a Brock Osweiler contract.
And Kyle thought he was being a diplomat. I mean, Kyle Kuzma. Sorry, Kyle. Thought he was being a diplomat, thinking, oh, I don't want to go to Dallas. I want to stay and build around and in court. Shut up, because you had plenty of time to try to do that. You're too inconsistent. You're too focused on your closet and not on the court. Jordan Poole shows up when he sees somebody attractive in the crowd. The 2 consistent pieces that they have might be just Denny and Tyus, and free both of them at this point.
Yeah, I don't see them in the future of Washington.
No.
But it's a great question. It's a really good question. Well, who did you say has the brightest future?
Right now, for the near future,
all right. So, how did it's how you pose the question? What I looked at is who's the closest to win a championship out of those 6 teams. Who's the closest to being competitive?
No, but I'd give it to the Spurs in about a good 2 to 3 years. They'll be either contending or they'll be on the way towards contending. The Pistons, they had that one time where all they were was big. They didn't have enough guards, and now they're just guard and forward heavy, and they need bigs. Now you have a whole bunch of point guards who like to touch the ball, and nobody to really be physical on defense and in the middle of the paint, and nobody who wants to play defense. That's the Pistons' problem, and that's because they don't develop or draft. Well, they draft talent. They just don't develop it very well. That's the front office.
Yep.
She's right.
And it took them this long to finally move on from Killian Hayes. Because the fact that he was getting more minutes than Jaden Ivey was criminal. Like I couldn't understand that at all. But yeah, I definitely agree. They could use player development and probably like a good veteran to kind of get these young guys like on board with playing winning basketball.
See,
I
I
could
think
tell
bad
from
organizations can't move on from mistakes, and
Mm.
that Killian Hastings it kind of points to what I'm saying. Like they, why were they doing that? They were trying to force it because for what reason? You know what I mean? Like it just bad organizations hang on to bad decisions too long, and that's what I see in Detroit. They just loving it. They're just like, oh no, we're gonna prove this. We're gonna prove the world wrong, and everybody knows they stink.
Yeah, you're right. Corey Kispert is a bad move for the Wizards, and he's hanging around starting for them. So I
Yeah,
feel like
Who
in a
is
lot
the
of these bad
pressure of that?
organizations,
yeah.
Yeah.
Unless they're tanking on purpose.
Every year they're doing it on purpose.
No,
Every
well,
year.
I think tanking could, I'm not anti-tank, but I do think tanking can bite you in the ass because you might be going for Wembanyama. I mean, look at the Knicks. They were mad they missed out on Zion Williamson, right? I mean, but really, I mean,
I
are they
think
better for it?
I
because
think
Zion
that
would have been up in New York eating all the pizza and stuff. So I think that's good for New York.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, so sometimes, I think they get a little too cute with the lottery, and you just got to stay. I mean, what was Steph Curry the 8th pick in a draft? I mean, I don't know.
nobody did good in that 2019 draft at the top, though, bro.
That's true.
John Morant's an absolute stud. Whether he's being whether he has an absolute issue or with guns or if he's injured. RJ Barrett's no longer on the Knicks. DeAndre Hunter was traded. Darius Garland, I guess that's a good pick at 5. Jarrett Culver was 6. Kobe White was 7. Jackson Hayes was 8. Rui Hachimura was 9. Cam Reddish was 10. Cameron Johnson was 11. PJ Washington was 12. Tyler Hero, who's a 6th man, was 13. Romeo Langford was 14. Siku Dubambo was 15. Chuma Okiki was 16. Like, it's crazy how bad that draft was.
Yeah.
Like, it's insanity.
Well, I guess I was gonna say I feel that the 2010 draft was bad, but I only feel that way because I'm a Sixers fan and we got Evan Turner. So, but it wasn't, But I look at that draft. I mean, they had Paul George, Gordon Hayward, DeMarcus Cousins, and John Wall.
You know what
And
draft I hated? Whatever the one that Magic decided to draft Lonzo Ball instead of De'Aaron Fox. That was a lump of, oh my God. Because I knew this was going to happen.
I wanted Boogie when the Sixers traded Evan Turner. I mean, draft Evan Turner. I was like, give me DeMarcus Cousins. And God, yeah.
Both guys are out of the league, though. What's next on the agenda tonight, Kyle?
All right. So next up, we're gonna go with Godfrey, and this is the question with your NBA question.
Gotcha. So, LeBron scored his 40,000th point. So the talk of who is the GOAT is naturally coming up again. And the people that are, pro LeBron are, pulling apart the stats. So my question is, and I read it verbatim here. There it is. I knew I had it somewhere around here. So my question, stats, right? Do they? Where's my damn question? Oh, are stats the great equalizer when comparing LeBron James to Michael Jordan?
What's the order, brother?
I'm gonna go. Jory first, you second, and Kyle last.
Everybody wants to make me the meat of the sandwich.
Play the role, man.
I'm playing it.
No. And because stats don't tell the full damn story. And the only reason why LeBron stands, and I'm really trying to clean this up instead of saying Bron sexuals, because that's what they are pulling up stats is so they could try to prove a point. Braun has been in the league for 20. I'm 23. He's been in the league for how long? 22 years. That's why I'm tired of seeing the guy. I grew up with Braun. Go be with your wife. I'm tired. Um, but the absolute effect that they had on the court and the fact that these two aren't even the same type of player is really making this argument kind of annoying, to be honest. But when they think about Braun and Jordan, they're always going to bring up rings first, accomplishments second, and then the play on the court third. But in my honest opinion, if you're going to look at Braun versus Jordan, it's the play on the court, rings, and then the stats. I don't think the stats should be the great equalizer, and I don't think they are. That's just LeBron fans trying to grab onto something to say, but LeBron's the GOAT and da-da-da-da-da-da. I'm over it.
All right, so the fun part about this question is it gets me to break it down in a way I look at greatness, right? When I asked you guys this question, who was a better running back, Barry Sanders or Emmitt Smith?
I'm going to go Barry.
I'd go Barry too.
Most people would go with Barry. Most people would go with Barry. And why would you go with Barry? Emmitt Smith played longer. He has more total yards. He has, a longer career. He's got, he's been to the championship more. Why are we going with Barry? I mean, why are we going to Emmitt Smith over Barry? Because we watched them both play, and one was better than the other. Like, I'm going to give you a comparison, right? If we went to the court, and I was at the court, right, and I was just dominating people, and I won 6 straight times, and I was bored, right? Won 6 straight times. I'm done. I'm going to try something new. I'm leaving. And then another guy came, and he won 4, lost 6, just kept going back and forth, and he was doing well. He was doing good. He was the best player when I wasn't there. But when I was there, I won the last 6 I played. And I was just so dominant, it got boring. Look, you can say what you want about LeBron having longevity in his career. And longevity is cool. But why isn't Brett Favre the greatest quarterback of all time? I mean, he has the most passing yards. Well, not anymore. But he had all the stats, the total, because he played longer and further. But, we watched Peyton Manning play. He's better. Dan Marino played. He's better. We watched Tom Brady play. They're better. I watched Jordan play, and I watched LeBron play. And the part that drives me absolutely bonkers about the LeBron-Jordan debate is the people that argue with me about LeBron being better than Jordan never watched Jordan play basketball. They're 28 and under. They're 34 and under. Like, if you watched him play, you'd be like, oh, damn. And, don't tell me you watched him play, the highlights. Oh, I've seen the History Channel, and I watched a highlight reel and NBA this, and that. And don't do that. Watch the way this man dominated night in and night out. There was nobody beating him. Bro, it was like I was watching WWE and we were watching a Raw or SmackDown and you knew Roman Reigns wasn't losing the belt. You just knew they weren't going to lose the belt. I know what's going to happen on the pay-per-view already. I didn't need to watch the NBA season in 97 and 98. I knew who was going to win. It was scripted. It was boring. That's how much better he was. Oh, and by the way, for a guy that's played longer, does he have more scoring titles than Jordan? Nope. 10-1. Jordan wins. Does he have more? Listen, he's got to be a better defender. Does he have more all-NBA first-team defenses?
No.
Oh, he's got to have a DPOY. He's got to have more defensive player. No, doesn't have that either. Oh, he's got to have more championships. He's played 20 years. No, he doesn't have that either. But the argument for LeBron is he has all these points. Well, yeah, he's played longer. Hey, Kyle.
Whoever says that is just an idiot.
Well, let me ask you a question real quick. Jory, if me and you went and shot 3-pointers at the playground, right? And when we were shooting 3-pointers, I shot 6 in a row and made all 6 of them. And you shot 175 3-pointers and made 20. Are you better because you made more 3-pointers than me?
No, because my 3-point percentage, by God, is not going to be that damn horrible.
And like I use a very like a weird breakdown of this, but to me it's logical.
If you make all 6 and don't miss, then, and I've done it long enough and I've done it for more and I still make a lesser percentage, you have a perfect record. I don't. Like, Jordan is 6-0, 6-0 in finals. LeBron is what, 4-6, even though he's been to 10, and that is very hard to do. I do not want to discredit that, but it's also hard to win 6. It's also very hard to win 6, especially in the 90s. I was not around, but I do know that they played a more physical brand of basketball. I do know that.
You mean defense?
They actually played defense too. Yeah. They were smacking Jordan. I do know that.
Oh, Jordan rules. The Jordan rules were insane. If he went to his right, knock him on his ass. Seriously, that was literally the rule. If he went to his right, knock him on his ass. He doesn't like shooting off his left.
And it didn't work either. So there was that.
Hey, listen, it worked for the Pistons. They won 2 straight championships. I'll tell you right now, the funny thing about Michael Jordan was Michael Jordan got his ass kicked by Bird and Isaiah until he finally beat him. And when he finally beat him, they didn't touch him again.
Nobody could stop him. Yep.
Nobody. In 92, when they had that dream team and they asked Jordan, hey, if the game's on the line, who's taking the last shot? His response tells you everything you need to know. Me. What are you talking about? Me. It'd be me. It's not close. Listen to some of the greats that played with him. You never hear this happen. Magic. Oh, no. Jordan's the best. Bird. Yeah. New sheriff in town. He's the best.
Kobe. Jesus.
They called him Black Jesus. I don't know, man. I don't think it's that close.
That's why I'm so sick and tired of LeBron mania and LeBron stands. And when LeBron get the hell off my team, I will be so freaking happy.
Everybody said Barry in the chat too. And by the way, John, you can call him Boy Chop. I'll shoot the lights out.
You know, Bronny and Bron are going to be playing on that team, Jory.
I might just.
That team's going to be a circus. That team's going to be a circus in 2 years.
They're already bringing up that. Why wouldn't the Lakers just use a second-round pick on Bronny and, put him in the G League or whatever and developing him? Like, you could develop him staying at USC. I don't know.
He's an average player on an average college team.
They're below average this year. And he's averaging 5 points a game.
Let him stay at USC for 2 to 3 more years.
That's not
Ron just going to have to figure it out. He's
going to take someone's draft rights. I'm telling you right now. He's not a second
round pick. LeBron's not going to wait 2 or 3 years for him. It's going to happen next year.
I agree.
Oh, well.
I'll get the paper bag ready.
Kyle, what's your answer?
I mean, you and Jory pretty much hit on it, but I will say this. Jordan may have gotten beaten up by Detroit. You know what he did? He got in the gym and got stronger. He didn't run. LeBron got beat by the Celtics. What did he do?
Start crying.
Like that's your biggest gap right there. Jordan was not going to run from it because he was like, I know how good I am. And like you said, Gene, the minute he broke through, got past Detroit, it was over for the league. Like you couldn't touch him, and he beat. LeBron people like to say, oh, Jordan was playing against lesser talent. Okay, you go tell Charles Barkley and that Suns team that they weren't a great team. Go tell Stockton and Malone, those Jazz teams that were winning 60 games a year, they weren't good enough. Tell those Sonics teams with Gary Payne and Sean Kemp, not the Sean Kemp from Cleveland when he was all big or whatever. Like that was Sean Kemp at his highest power, and Jordan destroyed them. Portland, the Lakers with Magic and all those guys. Jordan beat them as well. So I agree with you, Gene, and Jory as well, saying that this is a conversation that I really don't know if LeBron could do enough to overtake Jordan for me. Only because, LeBron's basically 40 now. The years of him really winning a title as your best player are probably behind him. And at least with Jordan, when he was winning, he was always the main guy. And another point, to win 6 when you had the biggest target on your back, because everybody knew Chicago was that good because of Jordan. So when they went to arenas every night, those teams got up for those games. And Jordan and the Bulls still went through the competition like with ease. So, yeah, LeBron got his 40,000 points. Fine. Did they win the game? No. Surprisingly, like nobody wants to talk about the fact that they didn't even win that game.
That's why I'm like, when Anthony Davis said you need to stop breaking records because we always lose. I'm like, say it again.
It's like you lose that game, you lose the Kobe statue reveal game, you lose the game when you pass Kareem. So what are we doing here? And his time in LA, outside of the bubble championship, what have the rest of the years been? Missing the playoffs. Last year they get to the conference finals, they get swept, but I guess they're supposed to celebrate that they just got there. But if LeBron is as great as he is, do you get swept in the conference finals? And he's been swept in the finals before. I mean, that was early in his career. You could kind of excuse that, but
don't you forget the playing tournament. Put some respect on that title.
He's got 5 now.
The in-season
Are
tournament.
we just gonna make a mockery of my team right now? Is that what
you're saying? Mockery of LeBron.
They hung it in the rafters, George. It's in the rafters.
And the crazy is LeBron hated the play-in tournament, yet that's been his best bet of making the playoffs these past few years.
Yeah.
So we're celebrating you for being a 7-10 seed.
I got a question for you guys. What series to you guys was the most impressive for Jordan's legacy? I want to see if any of
I
you
wasn't alive.
Sorry, I'm gonna ask those two.
So,
what series was the most impressive for his legacy? And I have the answer. It's indisputable.
I mean, I feel like the best team that he played was the Suns team that he beat with Barkley on it. And, I that was the most impressive to me. That was a really good Suns team. I mean, it really, really was. They took out Hakeem Olajuwon and the Suns in the playoffs and the Rockets in the playoffs that year. And that was, to me, the best team that he faced in the finals. I mean, there were some, you can argue a lot. You can argue, a lot of them, but for me, that's the one that I remember being one of the toughest series for him.
Okay. And I'm not saying it wasn't the toughest series. I'm asking, what do you think the most impressive was? But that's all right. I'm listening.
I mean, I guess for the significance of like the rest of his career, I always look to when he finally broke through against the Pistons. Okay. That series was what made him what he became. Because like I said, he became a bigger player, a more physical player. And I feel like at that moment, the mentality in his head of him actually being a winner was established at that point, because he rode that into, getting the first title against the Lakers. And then that really changed his mentality into being a contender year in and year out, taking every team's best shot, kind of understanding how to win. I feel like that started with beating that Pistons team, because the Pistons at that time were kind of the standard in the NBA.
Okay, so my answer is not none of those, and it's not even a finals series. The series to me that stood out the most, and a lot of people don't remember this, and Jordan, I'm gonna give you a little knowledge. You know, Michael Jordan didn't always wear number 23. There was a half a year where he wore a different number. He wore the 4-5. He wore 45 when he came back from baseball, the strike year. He came back and played the last 2 months of the NBA season and actually lost in a playoff series to the Orlando Magic, and Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway and Horace Grant, his ex-teammate Horace Grant. The next year he came back, he wore the number 23. And his whole thing in that offseason was, I need to get this Bulls team back to the finals. Now, he came with like 2 months left in the season, and he almost propelled the Bulls to the finals. He didn't play basketball in 2.5 years. The next year, they played the Orlando Magic in the conference finals. I'm going to read you the scores to this series. Game 1, Chicago, 121, Orlando, 83. Game 2, 93-88. Game 3, it's in Orlando, so Orlando will steal this game back. 86-67, Chicago. Game 4, 106-101. 4 games swept. Shaquille O'Neal, Penny Hardaway, Horace Grant, Nick Anderson, Brian Shaw, Dennis Scott. That was the staple of Michael Jordan's career. That was the beginning of the second three-peat, and he went and absolutely just took Shaquille O'Neal's heart. Talk about the 6th best player of all time on a lot of people's list, and said, "Oh, that's mine. Oh, that's mine. You will not be winning. I got you." It was dirty.
Yeah.
One of the most dominant
Orlando
teams you'll ever watch. Can you imagine holding a team with Penny Hardaway and Shaquille O'Neal to 67 points at home?
Yeah. That's a good answer.
Dirty.
Because even though Orlando lost to Houston in the finals, they thought because of Penny and Shaq, like they were going to get back there and be a dominant force. And yeah, Jordan told them no. The greatest thing about Jordan was he held a grudge better than anybody.
Better than anyone.
Like if you did him wrong, he did not care. He was going to prove it on the court. The same when like Barkley got the MVP over him, and then they met in the finals. Jordan, holding that grudge, took it out on Phoenix and destroyed them. That's probably his biggest attribute.
And with Scottie,
he holds a grudge. He won't talk to Jordan anymore. Jordan won't talk to Barkley anymore because Barkley said he's a bad owner. And Barkley was doing his job. He was right. He was a bad owner. But they won't talk anymore.
I mean, him and Isaiah Thomas still don't talk. All because of, when they beat him and Isaiah ducked out in that little move that he still can't really explain why he did it.
Did.
Yeah.
Walked off the court with 20 seconds left.
And Jordan held that grudge even on the Dream Team. Said, no, Isaiah's not coming on here. No.
What we got next?
So wait.
Godfrey didn't go.
Oh, my bad, Godfrey. My bad.
So all of you guys are pretty much giving the right answer. So I mean, when I look at LeBron, I think he's one of the greatest of all time, right? However, the stats don't tell the whole story. And I almost got in a bar fight one time with someone because we were talking about LeBron versus Jordan, and I said LeBron doesn't even pass Kobe, and he was like, "What?" So that set him off. I'm like, let's not even talk about Jordan right now. And my thing is there's some intangibles that separate LeBron and Jordan, which makes him the GOAT for me. And this goes for every GOAT or someone who's a contender for that title in every sport. And it's the will to compete. Right? And Jordan has the will to compete. He wants to compete. If you just look at LeBron has only played 80 games once in his career, twice, 3 times, 82, 80. And, you could say he played more playoff games. I'm like, okay, Jordan was in the finals a lot, or the NBA finals, Eastern Conference finals. Jordan only played under 80 games. The year he came back for the shortened season, the year he broke his ankle and still came back to play in the playoffs that year on a broken ankle, right? And his first year back from retirement, the second time on the Washington Wizards, 60 games. He played 82 games his last year in the league on the Wizards and averaged 20 points. All right. So the point of me bringing it up is the dude, if he's in there, he's competing. And so when I look at that, that's what makes to me a GOAT, right? That a guy that just had this thirst to win, and they did that, right? A lot of these athletes have this zeal to win, but everybody's on a different level. I felt Kobe was on a different level. Kobe modeled Jordan, right? And I just feel like I don't get that from LeBron. And LeBron's great at a lot of different things, and he's and it's not fair to compare to stats, because as you hear the chatter now, and I love the timing of this conversation, you'll see a lot of the older basketball guys talk. They're talking about changing it back to more of a defensive game with the rule change. Well, what do you know? Now they could play defense. They could lean on you a little bit, right? Like Jordan had to go through that. LeBron did not. Okay. There was a lot less of that back in the day. And I'm not saying everybody should be Bill Laimbeer and like knocking people out, like, or flagrant fouling or being like Xavier McDaniel for my old schoolers out there. Like, I'm not saying that that's what basketball should be. But what I am saying is that at the end of the day, you can't compare the stats, and the stats, you're right. They don't close the gap and they don't dominate it. But that's what you hear now. Well, someone said he had less shot attempts and he had more points. I'm like, okay. I'm like, but then you have to look at this, and this is, people like to cherry pick. And I looked up, I said, let me think. What were the average points per game for a team from 98 to 99?
I'm looking at the same website you're on. 91.6, 97.5, 94.8. I'm on the same website you're on.
Right now it's 114.7. Crazy.
Because if you touch somebody, you get a whistle.
Yeah. Now, Gene just talked about that playoff game where, what was it, 86 to 60 or something? 86 to 60 or something like that?
86 to 67.
The only way you're going to see that now is if people are chucking up threes and they're missing, not because of defense. I have a nephew that is graduating high school. He's a hooper. He plays college basketball, and he's pretty into it. Probably end up playing D2, D3. Point of me saying that is, when I watch high school basketball, it's painful, and the reason why it's painful is nothing to do with the NBA. There's no shot clock. I don't know why. I want to kill myself. 2, all these dudes do is pass the ball to the perimeter and shoot threes. I'm like, does anybody drive the ball anymore? Like, I'm watching this, I'm like, oh my God. Like, and I'm always telling my nephew, I'm like, play defense, hustle out there, take the ball to the hole, like, out physical people, because the way these young kids are playing basketball is, people are living around the 3 line. LeBron's a physical player. The kids emulate the game, but it's changed. And as far as defense goes, man, like, you don't see it as much as you used to, and you could just count it on your hand how many defenders are out there, and it just makes a difference in the game. So it's hard to kind of say, like, well, he had more points. Well, yeah, he had more points when they turned it into a scoring league. You know what I mean? When you watch Jordan, and this kind of resonates with me because we had this all-star conversation, and the slam dunk contest and all that. Everybody wanted to compete and win and get their piece and show that they're the dude. You know what I mean? Like, and nobody was afraid to do it. And then I started looking at the all-time point scorer list, right? Like, Carmelo Anthony's 10, right? He's a great player, but a lot of people are down on him because the way but he was a really good player for a long time, right? Dominique Wilkins is 15th. Would you believe that? A lot of people don't know that, So my point is you can't really just look at the stats and say, well, now he's better. Like, with Brady, I always thought Brady was a great quarterback, but I never was able to really, in my mind, give him the title of GOAT until he got over 4 Super Bowl rings. That was my standard for him, right? Because, Montana had the 4 rings, never lost a Super Bowl. Brady did, but he won, 7? Am I losing track? Was it 6? I forget how many now. 7. So you can't really argue with that. And LeBron, I look at it. He was on an all defensive team for like 5 years in a row, but then after, like, I don't know, the middle of his career, he stopped playing defense to a certain extent, and then he hasn't even sniffed that. The thing for me that said that LeBron wasn't going to be the GOAT in my mind was the first time he went to the finals with the Heat, and those dudes got caught clowning Dirk Nowitzki, and then Dirk took it from him, and they won. They lost the series 4-2. That would have never happened to a Kobe. That would have never happened to a Jordan, ever. And the
Job's not finished.
Yeah, and
Job's not finished.
Yeah, job's not finished. And the other thing is, and I look at how people.
You gotta look at it. The Kobe Bryant. That job's not finished.
Yep.
We got to move on. We got 2 more questions. 30 minutes left. What are we getting into next, Kyle?
All right. So next, we're going with yours, Gene.
Listen, this is really easy. And the fact that Russell Wilson was released today, I think Saigon wrote that in the chat. What was the biggest disaster trade in the NFL and the NBA? And in lieu of Russell Wilson being released today and the Broncos owing him, what, $48 million? Is that it? Or $84 million?
Yep.
They owe him a ton.
Over 2 years.
Crazy.
And they gave up 3 first-round draft picks.
So
was it 3?
They owe him $85 million in dead money.
2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and 3 players just to cut them the next year.
Yeah, but you can't use Russell Wilson. So what is the worst trade? No, I'm saying I'm telling everybody. What is the worst trade you've ever seen in NBA or NFL history? I'm gonna start with Jory. I'm gonna go to Kyle.
To me,
Yeah, Jory.
My bad. Go.
You're good.
To me, one of the worst in recent memory, it has to be the Jamal Adams trade to Seattle. Has to be, because they traded that for a heat-seeking missile who doesn't do much but hit, who's always hurt, and who gets burnt constantly in coverage. And now he barely sees the field. It has to be one of those. I think that's one that really sticks with me. Because I'm like, the Jets really swindled the Seahawks in this manner.
Okay. I agree with that. How about NBA?
Whatever the hell Minnesota gave away to get Rudy Gobert.
4 first rounders. 4 first rounders. Ricky Williams, that's another great one. New Orleans traded a first.
That trade was wild.
I mean, the Herschel Walker trade was insanely bad too.
Sure. Yeah.
Kyle, what's your 2 worst trades ever? I'm hoping you guys take the main one. There's a big one out there, really big one.
I'm not mentioning that weirdo.
Well, NBA, I got to go with the homer pick on this one. The KG Paul Pierce Celtics trade to the Nets was by far one of the worst because of those draft picks that the Celtics got. They turned those into Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. If you're looking at the Brooklyn Nets, wouldn't they love to have even one of those guys right now? And they traded for KG and Pierce when they were older, towards the end of their run, and Brooklyn was just basically doing it to try to squeeze one last bit of juice out of those 2, and they just didn't have it in them. The NFL trade, I mean, this one's pretty bad. I'm sure you guys will probably come with ones that are worse, but that Trubisky deal with the Bears moving up, what they trade to the Niners to go get Trubisky in a draft where you had Deshaun Watson and Patrick Mahomes, and we see what those 2 have become in their career, and Trubisky is nothing more than a backup quarterback. Like, that kind of speaks to how the Bears have been since then, or even before that, because we joke on here before, like, who's the greatest quarterback in Bears history? And you really don't have an answer. And the fact that they did that to move up to get a guy in Trubisky who didn't even have a great career at North Carolina, but for some reason they saw some potential in him, which obviously wasn't there. So those are the 2 for me that stand out.
Okay. Godfrey, I'm hoping you say it, because I don't want to go through this again where I have the 2 worst trades in the history of sports. I don't want to be correct.
It's hard to say a trade's bad when a draft pick is all you don't know what they're going to become. But
that's true.
Vlade Divac for Kobe Bryant's rights. It's like, what? Like Vlade Divac? I'm like, Jerry West just pulled off the heist of the century because he needed the cap to fit Shaquille O'Neal in, and he got Kobe Bryant. for a aging Vlade Divac, and they shedded his salary. I'm like, so that was that has to be the worst trade in NBA history. I mean, no one knew Kobe was going to become what he's going to become, but Jerry West was a good evaluator of talent, and it's pretty easy to say that based off his career, and him being a legendary player in himself. So I mean, it's funny. I don't know if anybody got to watch the Lakers buy up Showtime, and it was pretty good. And Jerry West's character was pretty interesting. I wonder if that's what he was like in real life, because that's not how he came off on camera. But he was like a crazed maniac, like in that show. Like,
they were mad about that show. That made me so happy. That made me funny.
That show was great. I'm mad it got canceled. I actually didn't watch the very last episode because I'm pissed it got canceled. I'm just like, I'm done. Anyway, so for the NFL, I mean, there's a lot of bad trades that you can really
I have the worst, 100%.
I have another one.
I have the worst trade in the NFL by far.
But for me right now, it's Deshaun Watson. I mean, if you look at what the Texans have done with the picks and where Deshaun Watson what he has shown, he might still have potential. But I mean, seriously, you're wasting a good defense that just needs a quarterback to play above average. And they don't have that, and you're trapped in purgatory right now with this guy's guaranteed contract on top of that. So that's who I'm going with the NFL.
Okay, so all right, so honorable mention, I'm going to give Herschel Walker from the Cowboys to the Vikings. They traded Herschel Walker for Minnesota's first-round pick in 1990, second-round pick in 1990, sixth-round pick in 1990, first-round pick in 1991, second-round pick in 1992, first-round pick in 1992, and second-round pick in 1992, and a third-round pick in 1992. Hold on. I just want to reiterate this for a minute, right? They traded Herschel Walker for 3 firsts, 3 seconds, a third, and a sixth. A running back got traded for 3 firsts, 3 seconds, a third, and a sixth. Do you realize how absurd that is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, the worst trade in NFL history, the worst, is the Chargers trading up from 3 to 2 for the rights to draft Ryan Leaf. The San Diego Chargers sent 2 first. The San Diego Chargers sent 2 first-round picks, a second-round pick, and 2 players to move from 3 to 2 in the first round to select the biggest bust in NFL history, Ryan Leaf. Sorry, I didn't want to do this to you guys. Now, the worst trade in basketball history, you're absolutely right. It's the Kobe Bryant trade for Vlade Divac. But if I want to get a little bit fun and give you guys a second trade, I can do that because I don't want to double up. God forgave the right answer. I'll give another one. A lot of people know Scottie Pippen from being a Chicago Bull, but they don't know that Scottie Pippen was drafted. Anybody know?
Seattle
Supersonics. 5th overall. And he was traded for Olden Polynice. Yeah, they had a needed center. We got Olden Polynice. What?
That legendary guy, Olden Polynice.
For Scottie Pippen. Scottie went on to win 6 NBA championships for the Chicago Bulls. And Olden Polynice averaged 5.6 points per game.
I got one for you. How about the Jazz trading away the rights to Magic Johnson for a bunch of players in 78?
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't around for that. Like, I didn't really understand it that well. But you're right. I mean, the Kareem trade from Milwaukee to the Lakers. But a lot of these situations, like Kareem wanted out of Milwaukee. He didn't want to play in the Midwest. So, they kind of forced him to trade him.
Well, how about Milwaukee trading Dirk Nowitzki for Robert Taylor?
That's a bad one. Robert Tractor Trailer?
Yeah. He averaged
I
a
got
double
one.
on college.
You said you have one, Jor? Got it.
Yeah, because it literally tore my damn team's heart out and made my former head coach literally walk out the draft room. You already know which trade I'm talking about. The one where we traded AJ Brown and ended up picking Treylon Burks, who has had asthma, bee sting issues, and hamstring issues.
Asthma.
Well, you got to look at the 19. If you ever want to have some fun, go back and look at the 1998 draft. Okay, NBA draft 1998. If you go look at this draft, you're going to see a few teams that made a really lot of dumb moves. One of them was the not Dallas Mavericks, the Milwaukee Bucks trading Robert Tractor Trailer for Dirk Nowitzki. But the other ones people forget about is, the first overall pick in that draft was Michael Olowokandi. Then it was Mike Bibby and then Rafe LaFrance before Antoine Jameson and Vince Carter.
The only two I recognize is Bibby and Carter.
Well, Antoine Jameson.
Michael Olowokandi. Damn. The
Candy man out of Pacific.
Robert Tractor Trailer went 6. Jason Williams, Mr. White Chocolate himself, went 7. And then the 76ers were on the clock. And they took one half of the Flight brothers and Larry Hughes, just above back-to-back Hall of Famers, Dirk Nowitzki and Paul Pierce.
Oh, well, I mean, that Larry Brown was a great coach, but draft picks, not so much.
No. We
Not
drafted
so much.
Stackhouse and Larry Hughes to play with Allen Iverson.
Speedy Claxton. That's another
I remember
name.
that. Remember that?
Speedy. Oh. Yeah, I can't even. It just should have had so many other players. Imagine Paul Pearson and Allen Iverson together.
Right? Imagine AI and Dirk.
Ugh.
Yeah.
They were sitting there, back-to-back Hall of Famers. And we went with Larry Hughes. One half of the Flight brothers.
Scouts invent things. Didn't somebody have a Caleb Williams question on the show?
Oh, and, yeah. By the way, funny thing is, Paul Pierce went to Kansas, right? Well, another story of the 76ers outthinking themselves. I want to read you something real quick, okay? Here's the schools or teams that they all went to before they got drafted. And I want you to stop me when you hear Larry Hughes. Arizona, Kansas, North Carolina, Michigan, Florida, St. Louis, Kansas.
That's Larry Hughes.
St. Louis? What are we doing?
He was a Billiken.
Blue blood, St. Louis. What?
The Billikens. Don't even know what a Billiken is, but that's what St. Louis
What
is.
is that?
It was a college.
I have no idea.
I don't even know if they're still college.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still there. Yeah.
That's why when the Sixers went to the finals. That's why when the Sixers went to the finals, we had Allen Iverson, a bunch of guys, and Mutombo.
Actually, you know what? Can you name that starting lineup? I can. And the 6th man. Just for fun. Let's see how good Godfrey is. No Google. Hands up. Hands up. Hands up. Can you name that starting lineup?
Eric Snow.
Point guard.
Obviously Iverson.
Yep. He was 2.
6th man was McKee, right?
Aaron McKee was your 6th man. That's correct. I just need my 3 and 4.
Mutombo. We should do that. Did I say Mutombo?
These are 5. You're right. Mm-hmm. I need the 3 and 4. They're 2 tough ones.
Oh shit. Who is the 3 and 4? No, was it? I want to. Why do I want to see Clarence Weatherspoon? That wasn't it.
No, the Spoon was before 93, 92, 94 area.
Was it Glenn Robinson? No, it was Van Horn.
Nope. He was afterwards when they tried to recreate the finals run.
Oh man!
I'll give you a hint. The 4
for some reason, Derek McKee's coming in my head.
No, the 4 was the ugliest player in NBA history.
Oh, Ty Hill.
Tyrone Hill.
What's Tyrone Hill? Okay. I was gonna go when you said that. I was gonna go Sam Cassell, but
I'm dead serious, bro. If you look at Tyrone Hill, that is the ugliest player in NBA history. It is. And who's the 3? Anybody know?
Damn,
George Lynch.
Oh
Oh
yeah.
yeah. Okay. Yeah.
See what does that mean?
Three indeed, George Lynch.
We had a bunch of guys,
Yep.
and they got Matumbo, and you had Iverson. That was like
Bro,
what?
AI took that team to the finals.
He
AI
carried that
beat
team.
Vince Carter's Raptors. He beat Ray Allen and Glenn Big Dog Robinson's Milwaukee Bucks and went up against Shaq, Kobe, Derek Fish, all those guys in the finals with him, Eric Snow, who couldn't shoot better than me, George Lynch, Tyrone Hill, and Dikembe Mutombo.
Yeah.
Ray Allen was a buck.
Yes,
Mhm.
used to be a Buck. Sam Cassell,
That's when he
Ray
was like
Allen,
a slasher.
and Big Dog Robinson were the big three of the Bucks.
On the Bucks, Ray Allen was a dunker. He would dunk on people.
He was.
Definitely
You've seen the movie He Got Game, right? You ever seen the movie He Got Game?
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
Ray Allen. That's Milwaukee Ray
That's Bucks Ray Allen. Yep.
Allen. Yeah, that's Bucks Ray Allen. He
Before
was
my
just he drove, dunked. I mean, he became a 3-point shooter, but that's not what he was. Ray Allen was nice when he came in the NBA. Ray Allen and Grant Hill were like the same prototype.
Yeah.
I was the last question?
I kind of feel bad that I got Tyrone Hill automatically when you said the ugliest guy to ever play.
Bro, he's ugly. I don't even look at dudes.
I know,
He's
but-
ugly.
I said to myself, I didn't think Sam Cassell was on the Sixers when you said that.
I'll make bucks like yo, Jordy, you ever heard this line? Jadakiss, I make bucks like Milwaukee because like Sam, I could sell. That was considered the best line in hip hop history when that came out. Sam Cassell.
I got it.
What's the last question tonight?
All right. So, as Godfrey alluded to, we do have a Caleb Williams question.
Okay.
So, looking at these perceived red flags about him, if you, or I guess the Bears draft room, would these red flags change your draft strategy in terms of Caleb Williams? Or if you don't care, like, would you be afraid of him and his personality, whatever, entering your locker room? And with this one, I guess we'll go Godfrey 1. We'll go Jory 2. I'll go third. I'll let Gene go.
At least
last.
I'm part of the
Get to be a
bread,
bookend.
man. At least I'm part of the bread. I want to be part of the bread. I'm no longer the meat. I'm not the cheese. Third is the cheese. All right, we're good.
I mean, there's a lot of red flags for me for Caleb Williams. But the locker room stuff you're talking about, his personality, the dad, the rumored of wanting equity in the team, things of that nature. I'm not going to do the workouts. I mean, I don't really think outside of that, I question if he's that generational talent. I think his PR team and everybody's done a really good job. I have not seen him do something on the field. And I don't watch a ton of college football, but I saw a ton of his games because of who he played. I watched that Notre Dame game from front to back. And, I know he didn't have a defense. That doesn't matter to me. The red flags, do I think that stuff, are you asking about that stuff that I brought up in the beginning? Are those red flags to me?
Mhm.
I
mean, the
don't
latest
know.
one is not doing the medicals at the combine.
I can't wait to get. I feel like me going fourth on this sucks.
I don't know if it's red flags or not. I mean, I just feel like that's kind of it's red flags to me as a team, but not to me as a player. You know what I mean? I don't know if it screams me yet. I mean, I think a lot of these guys are high caliber athletes and have had their ass kissed since Pop Warner. So they I'm going to do what I want to do. The dad gives me the Alonzo Ball vibes. There's a red flag there, but you don't hear much from Alonzo Ball's dad anymore anyway because his kids can't play as well as he thought. So, I mean, the one's better than the other, but as far as the players, but
They're both
Caleb
not
Williams,
on the court.
yeah, I mean, they get hurt. I mean, Caleb Williams, once he makes that money, I think dad goes away. You know what I mean? Once you get, he won't be hearing from dad once he gets 25 million, whatever, 40 million, whatever a first round QB gets. To me, it's today's athlete. I think they think they've arrived. You know what I mean? And I do get not going like, not doing certain things because you're afraid of injury, right? Because we don't talk about that. Some guys get hurt at the combine, tear a hamstring, things of that nature. If you're a quarterback, I want you to have a fast 40 time, but is that what he's known for? You know, I don't know if it's a red flag really for the locker room. I think the red flags really come in like, why is he deemed as a generational talent when I've seen college quarterbacks that have played better than this guy that have not been deemed as a generational talent? And that's the red flag for me. I don't think there's a locker room red flag yet because I don't think he's really affected his teammates. He didn't even know. I mean, they traded a bunch of their guys away. Who is going to be the teammate? You know, I, I think the Bears shouldn't draft him at 1, but that's just me personally. But it keeps looking like they're going to do it. I don't think it's a red flag. I don't know if it would change my draft strategy. And that's your question. I mean, if I'm the Bears and I really want him, I don't know if that would change my draft strategy. If I'm the GM of the Bears, I think I would be looking into that for sure and try to see past the smoke and see if that's just like, you know, draft drama and, you know, the kid's immature, he has to grow, and see if that's something where like I would be doing some like draft day investigation of like, how come nobody showed up to his birthday party? You know, stuff like that. Like, I would want to know what his friends are like and things of that nature. Cause then if I found out, you know, that he didn't really have a good relationship with people, then yeah, it might change my draft strategy. I think the Bears should change their draft strategy outside of your question. But yeah, I mean, it could be a concern. I don't know if it is, but yeah, I mean, it's a possibility if it keeps building. Yeah, for sure.
And what it shows me is that he's soft as hell and that he need to grow the hell up. I don't I like what Godfrey said. I'm not on the whole Caleb Williams hype train. I've seen him before. A few times actually. But I get it. But when you're getting to the point where you don't want to do a medical examination at a combine and there's people there that talk and this network is like a not network but like the NFL is a business, right? You refuse to do something for whatever reason. You don't think that ain't gonna get out to the other 31 teams? You refuse to do. Then you got the dad talking about equity. Don't know the NFL player in the history of NFL gets equity playing in the NFL at the same time. What makes you think your ass gonna be the first? What makes you think that? The entitlement that's coming from his camp is gonna be an issue. And that's something that whoever drafts Caleb Williams, they're gonna have to deal with that. The fact that he is a little soft. I'm not trying to call him Charmin Ultra soft, but he got some thin skin. He look a little weak to me, and by some of the things he say. So he does have. They need to grow up, and everybody around him needs to realize you just can't be saying just anything because of who your relative or your friend is, because it's gonna get out there. It's gonna make people look bad. So it's like he's soft. The people around him don't know when to shut the hell up. And this is a dynamic that could be problematic if not handled accordingly. If you feel like you have the front office and the cachet to say, I need you to chill out, don't go for it. But the Bears don't need to be giving up on Justin Fields anyway. That's a whole nother conversation for another day.
I have an amendment though. I'm going to say yes. It is a red flag. I forgot about him skipping the medical examination. That's a red flag to me.
Mm-hmm.
I have to explore trading that pick at that point, and I got to be quiet about it from the Bears because that is a red flag. So yes, it would change my draft strategy.
Okay. I mean, I'll just go quickly so Gene can get in. So the medical thing makes it seem like either something about maybe his listed height is what he's worried about getting out, or something like there's something that he knows that he's afraid for teams to find out. That's how that comes across to me. But
Sound
if
like you
I'm the
smoke
Bears
weed
and
and you
I'm,
don't want to find out. Don't want
I
nobody
mean,
to find out.
it's got to be something, right? So if I'm the Bears and I'm set on taking him number 1, I don't know if they necessarily would change my strategy. But the reason why I brought up the locker room thing was I'd also have to make sure that I have like a clear like leadership presence within my locker room, because with his larger than life, I'm bigger than whatever personality that
The
at least that's how it's
entitlement.
perceived. Yeah. If he gets into a locker room that isn't ready for him, I could see it fracturing a locker room and splitting it up from guys who, roll with him and guys who can't stand him. So if I'm the Bears, I'd probably be careful about that because at least looking at it with Justin Fields,
They
those
love
guys
him.
seem to like him. So Bears better do their homework. But Gene, I'll let you take over.
All right. So first of all, I've been on record multiple times saying I think that the Bears should continue to develop around Justin Fields. So I think that this will shock some people what my opinion is on this Caleb Williams situation, because you would think that I'm going to smear him like I think the rest of the NFL is doing, and I think that's a smear campaign, and I'm going to explain to you why I think it's a smear campaign. How many false stories are going to get reported that people are going to believe about Caleb Williams that keep constantly getting proved wrong? And I'll take full responsibility.
A ton.
I'll take full responsibility for posting one. We posted one on Wire to Wire that was false. He didn't say that. I'm an adult. What do I need an agent for? He didn't say that. It's a false report. Now,
So he has an agent.
no, he doesn't want an agent, but the quote wasn't, I'm an adult. What do I need that for? That's not what happened. You know who else doesn't have an agent? Lamar Jackson. His mom's his agent.
Yep.
I don't think you not having an agent right now in this point of your NFL career is a problem. Oh, and the medical? Let's talk about that for a minute. Ryan Poles walks up to him and goes, I'm taking you first overall. You don't need to do medicals for 32 different teams at the combine. You can do medicals for the Chicago Bears. We've seen what we need to see. You don't need to risk injury or subject yourself to medicals. We're taking you first overall. Do you understand why he might not do his medicals at the combine at that point? And the questions that arrive around Caleb Williams are always not around his play on the field, which, by the way, if you watch the tape, he has talent that is insane. His arm strength and his ability to throw off on the run and do amazing things with the football are there. Now, will he put it together? That's for, that's not for anyone. That we have to see if he puts it all together. But the intangible talent is there. There's not a throw on the football field he can't make. His arm strength is there. His mobility is there. He can do. His accuracy is there. You can see it throughout a lot of his games. Man, is his decision making perfect? I don't know that yet. I'll see that in an NFL locker room. I'll see that on an NFL field. But I'm tired of false reports smearing this kid because a lot of them are just lies. And who's to say these aren't agents releasing these reports to be like, see, Caleb, if you had a PR team or an agent, we can control this narrative, trying to get a piece of Caleb Williams' money. Now, his dad's a little bit overprotective. His dad's a little much. His dad's a little LeVar Ballish. But I'm not blaming the kid for having an overzealous father. Do I think it's a guarantee this kid's going to be a slam dunk draft pick? No. I don't know what he's going to be. I could see him being great, and I could see him not being great. But what I don't like is I don't like the made-up narrative of everything that's happening with Caleb Williams right now. Is the kid not allowed? Is he the first kid ever to not throw at the combine? Like,
I still don't like it when they do that. When anybody, regardless, I'm like, what the fuck was? Excuse me, what was the point in coming to the combine if you're just going to refuse to do a whole bunch of stuff? What was the point?
Well, the point would be to interview with teams. For a lot of people, it's to do physicals. But like Caleb Williams has 30 college games that are on record. You can see the way he throws the football. Did you know, a lot of people don't realize this, 7 players got hurt at the combine. Now, none of them are serious injuries. No one tore an ACL or popped an Achilles. But why subject yourself to that if you know you're going first? By the way, the GM of the Bears could say, I don't want you throwing at the combine. We're picking you first. Don't put anything out on tape. I don't know the situation, so I will not pass judgment on him until I fully understand. That's my take on it. I don't know if they're red flags, but I think that the Bears need to do their due diligence to decide whether they want to pick him or not. And it seems as if they've done that. They've done their due diligence, and he might be. Jordy, I don't agree or disagree with that statement yet. I watched him play at college, and he played great in a lot of big games at Oklahoma and at USC. But you're right. There's been games where he's made poor decisions. I can't blame him for losing to Utah 46-45. No one can get off the field, and Utah went for 2 to win the game. I can't blame him for that. That's not a big loss on him. His statistical numbers are insanity, and his arm strength is great. And by the way, when we look at these combine films, these combine tapes, all I have to do is point at two quarterbacks, and Jory knows one of them really well. Combine heroes, Zach Wilson and Malik Willis. These guys go to the combine and throw without their shirt off. Like, guys, you see what they're doing right now with the kid Joe Milton from Tennessee. Oh, 62-mile-an-hour throw. Yeah. Look at him. He threw it 70 yards in the air. Do you know who was the best combine hero? Jamarcus Russell. Remember, he could throw it 80 yards from his feet, 60 yards from his knees, 40 yards from his ass.
Yeah, combine, I don't put a ton of stock into. I mean, I remember and the Eagles suffered from this, even though it shouldn't have been a pick they made. But Jalen Reagor was talking about how fast his 40 time was, but it wasn't that fast. I mean, it was made up pretty much. And you could be John Ross, he was really fast too. I mean, how are you going to be able to put it together on the football field? I mean, if you were just, if someone had to just be fast, man, Rocket Ishmael back in the day was really fast and he was an okay football player, but, then they would be pillaging the track teams all across the country. So, I mean, it's really, to me, like, it's great that kid was fast. And I would love to see a fast guy like that develop into a polished receiver. Do I know he will? I'm not sure. But the speed doesn't mean everything. I know the Raiders want to draft him because they like to draft speed.
Oh, and by the way, fastest 40 times in NFL history. I want you to listen to this list and tell me how many great players are on it. John Ross. Chris Johnson. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Dre Archer.
Who?
Jerome Mathis. Marquise Goodwin.
I know.
He was a decent player.
Stanford Routt.
He also was a track runner, but
Tyrone. Oh, you know this one real well. Tyrone Calico.
Oh my God.
Jalen Myrick. JJ Nelson. Jacoby Ford. Fabian Washington. That's the 11 fastest 40 times in NFL history. Chris Johnson's the only one that lived up to the draft pick.
Yeah.
That's all we got. We're an hour 30 minutes. Anybody have any final thoughts?
Another great episode.
I had fun. A lot of fun.
I got my tangents out.
I'm glad. That's what we do. Well, thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Cheap Seats podcast this week. I'm the NFL genius, Gene Walzak. That's Jory from Jory Sports Stories. The Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards. And Taking It Deep with Lee Godfrey. This is the Cheap Seats podcast. And we are signing